Today's topic of discussion is a New Zealand painter who I'm sure there's a very slim chance you all know, Brent Wong. Now, for those who are sitting there confused, Brent Wong is a New Zealand painter born in 1945 on the northern island of New Zealand. Not much is known about him other than his painting career and his barren Wikipedia page. But I do know of another source from his official website, an online PDF document that looks through most of his works while telling part of his story. The first few notable things written about him in here is that he was self-taught, starting to draw with watercolors and oils before full-on painting. But when he felt bored of that, he decided to stick to acrylic painting just because he wanted to try some new stuff. His style of painting consisted of him adding countless layers of acrylic to give it a signature smooth, quote-unquote, luster. He surprisingly would spend a maximum up to 3 years on one painting before public display. And as you see in most, if not all, of his paintings, they feature Victorian Gothic architecture, which comes from his brief time at the Wellington Institute of Technology. Although his biggest influence of depicting Victorian architecture comes from where he grew up, in which he referenced the environs of his street, which was composed of similar architecture types. All that boring stuff aside, he is honestly overlooked generally as a painter, and I've never seen any video essay of him at all, hence why I made this one. Which is disappointing as hell, because he is sort of popular because of his prominence in this one video with 1.5 million views titled Windows 95 Startup Sound Pitched Over Surrealist Landscapes, made by Sapphire on YouTube. And if you do want to buy an original painting and hang it up on your wall, they go for a minimum of $1,000. 1,000 doubloons. Like, really? Come on. But I think that we just have to take a look at some of his stuff in order to truly grasp his talent. The first painting I think we should look at is arguably his most famous one, titled Matrix, which is basically just a farmhouse in a field next to a lake. But the thing is, the elephant in the room we have to address is the huge shape in the sky. And if you know him, this is like his signature for his paintings, like geometrical shapes in the sky, basically. The next one we're looking at is called Anarchy, which is a little bit different because there's no geometric 3D shapes in the sky. It's more just a close-up of them, which is very detailed and very smooth, almost as if it's made of concrete or something. Next one I want to look at doesn't contain a geometrical shape. It's titled Building and Sphere, where it is what appears to be a tropical house, I would presume, with a reflective orb and a very large butterfly sitting or like landed on the side of the house. It's very interesting. I like how he signatures large natured insects in some of his paintings. The next one we're looking at is called The Wandering Land. Not a whole lot to unpack here. Some mountains and hills, but there is a huge chunk of hills kind of just floating. You can almost see as if it's moving. The next one I'm looking at is titled Snowstorm, which has the same theme as large insects or... well, it's not really an insect. It's a mollusk or a snail or whatever. And I actually really like it because it's a big snail. Not much more to say than that. Next one I'm looking at, I don't actually know the title. It's probably just untitled. It has a volcano, what I presume to be mushrooms or jellyfish, and then a table with a tea set. And also a balloon carrying said snail, which is interesting. It tells a story somehow without any words, with just showing you that the snail is attached to the balloon. The next one I'm looking at is one titled Still Life, and it's not an actual still life, those paintings of fruit. It's just a large field with the moon in the background, and there's jellyfish in the sky. And what I like most about it is that you can't really tell how large the jellyfish are or where they are, like if they're in space or they're right above the foothills. The next one we're going to look at is titled Balloon, which is probably my favorite overall out of like all of them. It's just a large pill T-shaped thing that I think is a balloon because it's in the title, with a volcano pluming with smoke on an island. And what I forgot to mention is that most of these are islands surrounded by water because he grew up in New Zealand, obviously, and New Zealand is an island with a lot of archipelagos and stuff like that. It's very interesting how he depicts it with very barren, grassy landscapes. Next one I'm looking at is titled Northern Spring. Not a lot, but it's still interesting because of the really big jellyfish in the sky. And also the house near the shore. Its architecture does look Victorian from what I'm seeing. But other than that, the next one I'm looking at is what I presume to be his first acrylic and oil painting, cementing his signature style of that, where it's like smudgy a little bit but smooth, called Mach 2 at 37,000. The jet, or the fighter jet in the picture, I can't really identify it to be anything, but it looks to be like F4 Phantom, maybe. Because the air intakes and the fins and stuff. Those are all the ones I want to go over. If you enjoyed this video, please dislike and unsubscribe and block me and report me and call me several slurs.